Hello, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. I am Tom Goodwin, and this is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hello, everybody.
And the subject today is consequences, responsibility, accountability. A lot of times, people they there are results to our actions. In other words, we do certain things, and certain results come about. And sometimes people say, "Oh, I got away with it at this time. The consequences weren't that bad, um, so I'm not going to worry about it." But the thing is, even when you have little things that happen, you have near or close calls. You have to take that into account. You have to learn from the close calls. You have to learn from the small events that go wrong or bigger events go wrong. Like when I exercise, um, I have to pay attention to the small pain, the small injury, the minor things. Because I exercise every day. And if I ignore something that's small, it gets bigger. And that's the way it is in life. If you ignore the close calls, you get a closer call. And then eventually you get something really serious can happen. So you have to pay attention to the small things in order for bigger things not to go wrong.
Yes, the important thing is in spiritual lessons, learning in consequences, you need to know what is healthy and what is unhealthy in your behaviors. Are your behaviors going to give you consequences that are unhealthy, or are they going to give you results that are going to be positive and help your your life out? Um, Things that make uh, your life difficult, habits, different behaviors, being around wrong people. When you're settling, knowing that other people are doing wrong things and there's consequences for that, guilt by association. So you really have to be aware of what you're doing and what consequences are going to come out from what you're doing, and then really pay attention to the signs when things come to show you, ring your bell in the spiritual sense, stop what you're doing and change. And when you're strong enough to literally stop and pay attention to the gut and the spirit on the outside saying where you're going is not a good direction, you can literally evolve to a stronger spiritual level.
A lot of times these days, um, we're sort of like we're in a society that has been enabling, been spoiling our children, and so forth. And what happens is, oh, we don't want to give them a bad grade. We don't want to give them a hard time. It'll hurt their self-esteem. Or if somebody has a big belly, don't fat shame them. Well, the truth is, if you have a big belly, it's unhealthy for you, and you need to straighten out your diet, and you need to face the reality. And the fact that somebody points out a reality, oh, is it too hard for me to handle? Well, if you don't handle it, you pay heavy consequences, and there's a lot of consequences in our society when it comes to big bills, when it comes to health care. And that has a lot to do with people not paying attention to the consequences of having bad habits.
Yes, and it seems to be easier to do the bad things for us because it tastes so good. That cheesecake tastes so great. However, it doesn't do anything for your health and puts problems, not only blocking the spiritual health, but your physical well being as well. So, how many of you can actually stop with the numbing and the consequences that are going to follow if you do it now? Your body's going to pay for it later, type of thing. Or even, the associations, any kind of addictions, any type of indulgement, will all come back in a consequence.
And there are positive consequences, and you have to respect positive consequences. When somebody's really fit and really healthy and looks really good, you don't say, oh, don't show your face in public because you're going to make other people feel bad because they don't look as good as you. Well, if you look good because you're healthy, because you're in really good physical condition, that should be thought as a positive consequence rather than saying, oh, you're showing other people up.
Yes, and another good point is blessings. Sometimes the consequences come and they're less severe than they can actually be. And that is the time where you give up something because of that blessing in the negative sense and you replace it with something positive. Like you're showing the universe, you're showing yourself, you're showing the spiritual sense of you that because of that consequence not being so harsh, I am going to start straightening up my act.
Isn't it very important to pay attention to consequences? And one of the things is consequences can be very positive. As I say, they're not always negative consequences. And when they're positive consequences, don't get too overwhelmed and say, oh, this is really fantastic. But see it as something that tells you that if you go more in that direction, if you do more, you're gonna get even more results. In other words, take advantage of the opportunity that the positive brings. Don't just get act like oh this is so wonderful and then just be dismissive of the value of them. Learn lesson of positive consequences is you're going in the right direction. To try even harder to go in that direction.
Correct. And also use it as the perceptions that motivate you to get that challenge, reach that goal, grab that ring, and make the best out of every consequence in your life, positive and negative, will always turn out positive when you have the perceptions and the strength and the spiritual know how to keep using every bit of everything in the spiritual for your benefit.
And when you think of getting learning lessons from consequences, think of hard lessons as like higher education. The rougher, the harder the consequences, the rougher, the harder the lessons, the more advanced your spiritual education is going to be if you figure it out and you learn from it. So it's not bad to have hard lessons because that shows you going into an advanced group when it comes to knowledge and understanding of the spiritual.
Yes, and when you even understand that level and you get the know how of that spiritual level, keep the arrogance out. Have no self false ego that's going to stop you from attaining more information. It's teacher student. So when you have the open mind without pride or arrogance, you're going to go a lot farther because the benefits of the spiritual will help you out.
It's always good to be vigilant when it comes to the spiritual. And when you get arrogant, you lose your vigilance. And the spiritual is very tricky. It's very hard
Yes.
to nail down. It isn't. It comes in. It's like when you think of dreams, how they're in images and they're in analogies, and they don't come in a clear, direct form. Well, that's the way the spiritual tends to work. So you have to be vigilant because you're never gonna. It's like a puzzle. You're never gonna completely figure out. So you always have to have your mind trying to figure it out, puzzling over it, and that's what the important is. To always be puzzling, always trying to figure it out more. Never get the attitude you have it together because when you get the attitude you have it together, you do not have it together.
Correct. Analyze, decide, and do. It's a very, very great formula. Over analyzing things can be really bad because you start doubting and over analyzing what just needs to be simply felt as your decision into what you're going to do. So keep that in mind with the strength and confidence that in your analyzing, the reality is coming in and you're trusting the spiritual that's going to give you that intuition.
And what you believe or what kind of spiritual theories you have, you are responsible for them, and there will be consequences
Yes.
in the direction that if they're not good enough, they're not going to work that well, and there will be consequences. Now, this world to me is in the dark ages spiritually. It has to develop a lot further, and there's a lot of consequences that are going to happen in the future in this world, greenhouse effect, and so many other
Yes.
things related to our technology. We're not in an age where things are simple and the consequences are minor. We're in an age of technology where the consequences are humongous. We're in the
Yes.
atomic age. So that's why we have to up our game spiritually. With the old ways of looking at things are not good enough. The old ways you have personally looking at things can be improved on spiritually. And the way we collectively look at things. So spiritual ideology in this world needs to be improved on and needs to become more flexible. And the word ideology may be the wrong word, because to me, you have to have sort of like the type of approach which is loose enough and flexible enough and adjustable enough that you constantly are willing to change and transform it. You don't want it to be. That's why I like theories rather than belief, because you can always improve on theories. Where beliefs you tend to get locked into, and you get locked into something, then you cannot improve and you cannot change the consequences that will result from where you are at.
Yes, it's always an ebb and flow, like the ocean, ebb and flow. That we need to keep that spiritual energy coming in and helping us evolve and change, and understanding the spiritual as it grows and evolves and it changes. And the confidence and self confidence that it takes to do this by looking at the consequences, both positive and negative, will give you that perception that will allow you to change, because change is change in perception.
In positive vibes enterprise, it's very much into making a difference in this world so we have better consequences in this world. We're very serious about trying to get people to work hard using different virtual training techniques to bring about better consequences in the future. And that's what I'm all about. I've developed these new training techniques um, for a reason, and with trial and error that developed it. In other words, I'm paying attention to consequences really carefully, and really minor ones, in order to tune in and get a better spiritual theories, better spiritual meditative techniques, and a new
Yes.
astrology system, which is part of having a real good spiritual tuning device, a formula to put it all together that connects the physical and the spiritual. So Positive Vibes Enterprise is all about developing better consequences for people personally and for the world in general. We need your
Yes.
support. Um, we need people to subscribe.
Yes.
So this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. The subject today has been consequences. Thank you very much for watching, and we really appreciate it,
Yes.
and spread the word.
Spread the word. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.